Thank you very much. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, August 16th, 2023, please come to order? This evening's meeting will be a virtual planning and zoning meeting hosted by Zoom. During this meeting, our procedures will be as follows. 1, when you first enter the Zoom meeting, you'll be in a virtual waiting room until the meeting host admits you. 2, please be aware that your camera, if you have one, or your microphone will be muted by the meeting host when you enter the meeting. You can turn on your camera at any time so that you can be seen by others if you choose to. In order to run an efficient and orderly meeting in this virtual environment, unless stated otherwise by the meeting chairman during the meeting host will keep everyone other than the commission members muted. You will still be able to hear everything said by the commission members, even if you're muted and or your camera is not on. There will be opportunity for public comment during public hearings, at which time public participants will be unmuted. 3, the secretary will read the call of the meeting as published according to Governor Lamont's executive order. 4, during the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explain to the commission and others present what is being requested. The meeting host will share all related documents on the screen as needed. In addition to all applications and supporting materials for each application on the agenda are available through the public meeting calendar page of the town website, www.guilfordct.gov, and also through a direct link on the planning and zoning page. 5, comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any, and there will be clarifying questions from the commissioners. 6, there will then be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. Please raise your hand through the Zoom platform and wait to be called on and unmuted. As this public hearing must be recorded, it's necessary for speakers to identify themselves each time they speak by stating their name and address. 7, after clarifying questions are exhausted, those who wish to speak in support of the application will be asked to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and make a statement. Then those who wish to speak in opposition to the application will be asked to come forward, state their name and address for the record, and make a statement. 8, the applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioners. 9, once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearings and the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in the writing as the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. 10, decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Department at 203-453-8039 or by emailing planning.zoning@guilfordct.gov after 9 a.m. 11, all actions taken on applications tonight by the commission will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are the following members who will please identify themselves. Kevin Clark.
Here.
I have not seen Freeman. Ted Sands.
Here.
And we still don't have any. Phil. Sean Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank DeAndrea.
Here.
Scott Edmund Chair. Our alternates are Jason Marchi
Here.
and Larry Solo.
Here.
So at this moment, we have both of you guys being seated. Staff present are Steve Natick, interim town planner, and Janique Morgan, administrative assistant for planning and zoning. This meeting will be recorded via the Zoom platform and made available on the town website for viewing. The secretary would normally read the legal notice, but do we have one, Janique?
No, there's no legal notice.
So we'll just move on to our meeting agenda. We also would normally, let's see here. We would normally go to open the public hearing, but there is no public hearing items on this agenda. So we'll go to the first item, which is deliberation of public hearing items, Town of Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission application for adoption of proposed April 13th, 2023 draft zoning regulations and amended zoning map continued from August 2nd, 2023. I'd like to invite Steve to present us with where we stand on this.
Good evening, everybody. So I'd like to introduce a somewhat minor change in the schedule that's going to need to happen for the zoning reg and zoning map rewrite process. This came about as I was doing my due diligence and reviewing the application files and the correspondence that was submitted and filed by the town when the town submitted the application. And as we know, we have been treating this on the agenda as one application item, but it is really two applications. It's the zoning regulations application and the zoning map amendment application. So as required by the state law, the town filed the zoning regulations and a memo and a summary of changes in the town clerk's office at least 10 days prior to the public hearing, when it was opened in, I believe, April. It was April or May. I wasn't here, so it was either one of those.
April.
April.
April, yeah.
What happened was the town filed a memo that addressed both the summary of the regulations and the zoning map and provided a link to the documents, including the zoning map. The actual map itself was not physically filed in the town clerk's office, as we feel it should have been. So as a matter of crossing our I's and dotting our T's in this process, we feel it's prudent that the town resubmit an application for the zoning map and properly file it physically prior to a potential new public hearing. This is an effort that we want to be completely open, honest, and transparent about, and we want to make sure that we're erring on the side of caution here, and doing what we need to do to legitimize our really thorough and long efforts here in the process. So what I'm proposing that the commission do is submit a new application for just the zoning map, pause the process for the zoning regulation amendment until we can open a hearing, which if we can obtain an affirmative vote this evening to do this, would be September 20th, where we could then run the final hearing for the zoning map and final deliberations for the zoning regulations at the same time. And the reasoning that we would have to do that would be because we could not adopt the zoning regulations without the zoning map. And same vice versa, we couldn't adopt a zoning map without the regulations because they point to one another, since we've, in the process, redone all of the commercial zones. So that's the short and long of it. We would need a motion this evening to affirm the commission's intent to submit a new application. But this would probably delay the process at least about 1 month. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for that thorough explanation. It's really just making sure that we have everything properly done. It was filed, it was a link that could have been accessed, but technically it's supposed to be a map. So, that's what we're gonna do. Any questions before we entertain a motion to? Yes, Kevin.
Does that mean the public comment can be made on any part of the
No,
reg?
the application will be the application will be for the map alone. And so the public hearing portion of that meeting on the what'd you say, the 19th, Steve?
The 20th.
20th.
Would be public hearing specifically about the map.
Okay. Just wanted
So Scott, just to be clear, it would be about the map, but it would be about the commercial zone changes.
Sure, just anything related to the map. Yes.
Okay.
Comprehensive revised map.
And so any other comments then that commissioners had tonight about things that we have will get pushed off until September?
Well, no, we're going to kind of try to finalize things here tonight so that
Okay.
Glenn feels like we've got a good spot and we're all happy with it. And then we'll park it until we do a final vote in a month.
All right, capiche.
So first, can we get a motion so Steve, what's the technical? We're just motioning to amend the town map,
I
zoning
think,
map?
I think it would be a motion to withdraw the application the town currently has on the table for the zoning map amendment and to affirm your intent and desire to submit a new application for a comprehensive revised zoning map.
So, Steve, are those two motions or one?
You could do two separate,
So,
maybe a motion to withdraw and then a motion
so it would
to,
be one
submit a new one.
to withdraw and then one to resubmit.
Yep, we can do that. So do I hear a motion to withdraw the map application?
So moved.
Thank you, Ted.
Second.
Thank you, Ted. Larry Rizzolo,
Yes.
Jason Marchi,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes,
Ted Sands,
Yes.
Sean Cosgrove,
Aye.
Frank DeAndrea,
Aye.
and I also vote yes. Do I hear a motion to create an application for to update to the zoning map?
So moved. Second.
Ted? Thank you, Jason.
Scott, if I can,
Yes, Glenn.
yeah, I'd like to just suggest that the motion include the public hearing, the proposed public hearing date of September 20.
So noted. Is that fine with you, Ted?
Yep.
All right. Larry Rizzolo,
Yes.
Jason Marchi,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
yes,
Ted Sands,
Yes.
Sean Cosgrove,
Aye.
Frank DeAndrea,
Affirmative.
and I will also vote yes. All right. Thank you, Steve, for your diligence in making sure that we got everything right. And we look forward to the public hearing on this in a month. Glenn, I'll hand it off to you.
Janique, if you could enable screen sharing, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. So based on the commission's input and feedback on the regulations, I created a draft for your review. The draft reflecting the changes to date is dated August 8th of 2023, roughly a week ago. I think the text in here, which is identified with the red line, are changes from the prior draft of the regulations. So it doesn't, as we indicated earlier, show all the changes from the existing regulations. This has been an iterative process along the way. In addition, in this section, I think the commission should have noticed that all of the click links are active. So here in the table of contents, for example, my cursor goes to the little button arrow that we can go to any page or section that we would like. And also when you get into the regulations as a whole, we have the sidebar here with all of the click links and everything else in it. That takes you to the first page of a chapter. And in the first page of a chapter, we have the quick links that take you to the individual sections. So realistically, within 2 clicks, you can pretty much get to where you want to be within a document. And all of the cross references, for example, the commentary about requiring site plan approval or requiring special permit. All of that text is click linked and highlighted. In the use tables, it also click links to the particular standards related to that. So this will give a commission a sense of how the regulations will look and function going forward. It wasn't my thought to go through page by page in terms of the edits or changes. I can do that if you would like. There's 324 pages, or I don't know if the commission members had a chance to look through it. And I have incorporated your desired changes and edits per your directions, or how the commission would like to proceed with this draft.
Does anyone have anything that in their review they wanted to bring up? Larry Rizzolo?
Yeah, just a technical on page 102, items E and G are text that should be linked, but is not. It refers to a section, whoops,
You said 102?
102. Yeah, it says see also section 5.7 on section E. That's a link. That should have a link that takes you to section 5.7.
You're right, it's not activated. Nice catch. Thank you very much, Larry. Page 102 or 414. That was E and G, correct?
Yes.
Nice catch, Larry. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other items that came up as folks reviewed?
One, if you don't
Kevin?
mind.
Yep.
Glenn, in the regs, section 3.7, it's the incentive housing section.
Yep.
So 3.7.b, one little section I'd like to kind of like flesh out a little bit. So under 1D, an area that because of existing planned or proposed infrastructure, transportation access, or underutilized facilities or location is suitable for development as an IHD. That seems a little wonky to me. I mean, could we just pull that out? What does, you're opening up areas for that kind of development for planned or proposed infrastructure? So anybody
Yeah, can you walk us through the purpose of that?
Yes, thank you.
That item?
Yeah, I think the idea here was to try to identify locations where the IHZ would be limited to. So again, the initial language here was 1 mile of a train station, 1/4 mile of a bus route, and already concentrated developments such as the town center. D, I think, could be considered superfluous.
Yeah.
Guilford really doesn't have sewer infrastructure in that regard. The transportation access is pretty much fixed. We've already included bus service in the train station. So I would say that if the commission desires, the D could be eliminated here. If somebody had a different location that they'd like to propose for an IHD, they could come into the commission, request a change to the regulation, and then also a change to the map. So that would perhaps be a belt and suspenders approach. And if the commission is more comfortable with that, then I think we could go ahead and delete 37B 1D.
For example, if they were to establish a bus line between Durham and Guilford along Route 77, with just section B,
Yep.
that would already be included.
Right.
Yep.
Right, and there's no camera, right?
What am I doing with this?
Put it in the sink and water it. I gotta use it for dinner.
You want to make me a
Yeah.
host as well, Janique, so I can help you with muting?
Yeah, and I think I'd like the commission to realize too, that the IHD is a zone. So the issue would be if somebody proposed an IHD development, number one is they need to file for the zone change. And if the commission looks at the site, it could be eligible. But that doesn't mean that the commission would find it to be appropriate in all locations or situations. So for example, I'm trying to think of a site that might meet one of these criteria. The commission would say, that's crazy. That's not appropriate, et cetera. So this is a zone change. The commission has considerable discretion on a legislative act such as that. So I think we're clarifying here what the commission's desire or intent is. And I think that works.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think the operative term, the operative word in 3.7BD is proposed. So, we have no idea what's going to be proposed, and it could be many years away. And if someone wants to propose an IHD, then we consider it as a future matter.
Yep, I agree.
But I don't know, so we're talking about keeping it in or deleting?
Taking it out, I believe.
No, I
is
think,
what we discussed.
Yeah.
I think, Kevin, you're right. We take it out.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks for that, Kevin.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Any other items that folks noticed? The only thing that I had on my list, Glenn, was that we hadn't fully resolved the BMU standards at the end of our last meeting. Could we just take a look at where we landed, please?
Yep. So you may recall at the meeting, I think it was August 2nd, we had gone through material which compared the BMU standards with the MUC zones, which had preceded the establishment of the business mixed use zone. Commission had some questions about some of the standards in the regulations. Apologize for that. And so based on our conversation, there were no changes to the uses permitted in the district. We just made a slight change here to clarify that the retail sales of lumber and building materials includes storage of those materials. That's what happens. It was just change of wording here. And then we added at the bottom, apologize, let me get that bigger. You may recall that the business zones had allowed by zoning permit by staff adaptive reuse of an existing building to residential with an affordable set aside may exceed density maximums if the health department requirements can be satisfied. We decided in all the business districts, we weren't comfortable with that through a zoning permit process. And so that was added in special permit approval in all the districts. No major changes to the accessory uses and structures. And then we got to the area and dimensional requirements. You may recall that the analysis that we had looked at for the different mixed MUC zoning districts had front setbacks along Route 1, which varied between 100 feet for buildings, and in the MUC 1, it was 200 feet for buildings and parking areas. Don't really recall the reasoning why, but the front setback on Route 1 had been changed in the proposed text to 50 feet. Commission said, wait, we're not comfortable reducing it to 50 feet when the prior standard was 100 or 200. So that change was made that along Route 1, the minimum front setback is going to be, according to your direction, 100 feet. But in any other street line, in any other district in the MUC zones, the setback would be 50 feet. Also recall we had conversation about the floor area that was permitted in the MUC zones before. The provisions had been as low as 15%, but the MUC 3 allowed up to 25%. Commission discussed whether 15 or 25, what was the right number here. And the discussion resulted in a footnote here in the table, which says 15% is the baseline, but a greater amount of floor area up to 25% could be allowed by a separate special permit when it is determined by the commission that such additional floor area will not adversely affect adjoining property, and when the architecture of the proposed building supports and enhances the purposes of the district. So I think that covers the changes that the commission had given direction on.
Any comments from commissioners on that?
You're muted, Sean.
I was not at the prior meeting, which obviously was pretty extensive. Where in this part are we addressing height? Is it?
It was right here at the bottom of this table. I'm looking
Okay.
at
All right.
that page. I'm sorry to scroll down here, Sean. Just give me a
That's
sec
all right.
here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
hey,
Jim.
Page 419, and comparing back.
And it's comparable to the other two MUC
Okay.
zones.
All right. All right.
Yeah, the
Thank
current
you.
MUC zones, the building height is 40 feet, which allows 55 by a special permit. And then the MUC was 35 feet and 40 feet by special
By
permit.
special permit. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Kevin?
How would I phrase this? So I'm thinking a lot about this particular section, and I know how much it makes sense to consolidate the 3 different zones on Route 1 into one set of regulations. I understand the practicality of that. And to me, it makes a lot of sense to do the 2 other zones the same. Here's my concerns. Happy to hear your feedback. So the Route 1 West subcommittee recommended 200 feet for frontage. I have a problem
For setback,
for setback. Thank you, Glenn. I have a problem kind of going against their wishes. I understand it's only a recommendation, but I just have a hard time. It's a subcommittee that put a lot of time and effort into their work, and I have a hard time just kind of dismissing the recommendation of 200 feet. I think maybe that could, if we could maybe keep this particular section as it was and combine the other 2. That kind of makes sense to me. And then you keep the 200-foot setback with the ability to change at our discretion during the application process.
So Kevin, are you saying go back to 200 feet and by special permit allow less than that?
Correct. If they can argue their case, be it hardship or whatever, and then we, at our discretion, then we could allow them to go closer to the road.
And Kevin, you're only talking about Route 1, right?
I'm
Yeah,
talking about Route 1 West.
Route 1, right?
yeah. So what occurs to me is the hardship would be a proposal that would have a footprint, a proposed footprint that would require less than 200 feet setback. And
I mean, I don't think we want to get
that would trigger
into,
a special permit, right?
I don't think we want to get into hardships. I mean, that's the realm of ZBA, but
I just, sorry, for lack
No,
of.
no,
a better way to
no.
explain it,
I'm not saying hardship. I'm not
I
saying-
did. I'm sorry. I think
Well-
there's a second part to it that there was concern about was, I think, and I may be overthinking this, that the optics on this with the Spectre or the potential for the Callahan application, you're kind of changing this thing on to kind of tweak towards that. I'd be worried about the optics on the zone.
I
change
would-
for that part.
I would say we are not tweaking it towards a specific application. The only changes that are being made are based on making it kind of conform with other, with the town, basically. There's nowhere else in town where there's a 200-foot setback.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
I think that it's important that we consider the context of where that particular property is.
Okay.
And I think that I wasn't part of the Route 1 West committee, but I think we should consider what the regulations are for other properties in that area. And to put this in perspective, across the street is Tractor Supply, 30-foot setback. The property to the right, and I asked Glenn to take a look at this, I believe is also 30-foot setback. And the property to the right of that is 30-foot setback. And the property across the street is 30-foot setback. And so it seems to me that it is extremely anomalous that we're proposing 200 feet for this one property when the surrounding properties are so materially less burdened. And furthermore, the reg as it reads now, because of the recommendation of the Route 1 West, is that it's the parking lot and the building. And I believe that Glenn also looked at this issue. And this is the only property in Guilford where the parking lot is considered to be the edge of the setback. And that just, I mean, the inconsistency here just is very hard to ignore. And it seems like that it's, it just doesn't make sense. I can see, given what the other properties in the environment, the setbacks are 30 feet. I could see where somebody could come to the 50 feet. The 100-foot, which is the proposal that's on the table, is actually fairly punitive to the property compared to the others. But 200 feet is just, to me, it's just out in space someplace.
Okay. No, I hear what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree. So go back to, so what is the current
It's
setback?
200, the current
Yeah.
is 200
Right,
feet
okay.
to the parking
The
lot.
parking, not even building.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be
And
the
what
building,
we're
but
proposing,
building or parking.
right, and what we're proposing is 100 feet to the building. But the adjoining properties are 30 feet to the building. I mean, the parking lot for Tractor Supply is at the road. I mean,
Yep. I was just there the other day and I was checking that out.
yeah, it's across the street. I mean, I think that the 100-foot is plenty of protection.
I will say too, just to make sure that, everyone's clear, that the Route 1 West plan is part of our decision-making process in the event of a special permit in that area, right? Just like the POCD is for any permit, any special permit that we make across the town of Guilford. Same thing with, that's another resource that we review when it comes to a special permit in this area. So it's not like we're doing away with the recommendations that were made. It's just, typically it doesn't show up on the standards. And I guess, Glenn, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but it just felt like this was inconsistency. That was part of the reason why we were trying to adjust things in the first place.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm trending towards Ted's point of view, and I do think we have to be cautious about, taking into consideration, as we might be want to be, any potential applications. We've got to do this in Ted's words, in a consistent manner, and I think that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely not making these changes because of a specific application. That's
Right,
definitely not
right.
the reason.
I want to be totally clear about that.
Okay.
One of the things
I have to make the argument though, Sean, that just because there's a few properties that are at the 30-foot setback, that would be consistent to allow Route 1 West parking lots and buildings be closer to Route 1. I'm leaning towards Kevin, personally towards the 200 feet. I think that Route 1 West Committee did a tremendous amount of work that was proposed for a reason, to protect that entrance into Guilford with the agricultural feel and so forth, which I think is vital to Guilford's future. So it doesn't look like Branford Hill. I have to keep making that argument. Wait. I think the 100-foot is a compromise in my place, where I would prefer the 200-foot setback for that region. Okay.
Yeah, I think that if we want to prevent Route 1 from becoming overly developed in that sense of parking lots going right up to the route of edge, all the way up and down, I think the regulation as it stands helps prevent that. Just because some properties have 30-foot setback The road has a look now with that, and keeping across the street more wooded. I think it's reasonable to put a 100-foot setback, as Jason said, as a nice compromise.
I would like
Yes,
to,
Glenn?
yeah, I don't want to complicate the commission's discussion here, but I realize now in making this change, I just stated Route 1 100-foot, and normally our usage of setback refers to buildings. And the commission has talked about parking. So with your permission, what I'd like to do is specify in this table that it might say, Route 1 building 100 feet, and then underneath it say Route 1 parking, and have a number there that the commission would like to see for a parking setback, rather than parking being located immediately along the street. So it's an option that's available to the commission to specify that, but leaving it unspecified may not produce the result you anticipate. So I think it would be helpful to clarify that as
Yeah.
part of this. So throw that
Yes.
into your conversation as well.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
so, what is the setback to the parking at Tractor Supply and the other several properties?
So nowhere
30
else, yeah, so
30
nowhere
feet.
else is that a setback for both building and parking. This is the only scenario in town where the setback specifically includes a setback to parking. Glenn would have to, Glenn, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't like a specific setback when it comes to parking that's in
No,
the
it hap-
regs right now.
I think you're right, Scott, and I think Steve can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the regulations contain landscaping standards which talk about minimum landscaped area along the street. So that becomes the default parking lot setback requirement. But to my knowledge and working on the regs, that's not specifically stated in other locations of the regulations, but it was specifically noted in the MUC1 district.
So, yeah, so again, the general goal for what we're trying to do is to keep it consistent. At the same time, I understand the recommendations of the Route 1 West plan. If it needs to be part of the compromise that everyone feels like we should keep that in there, that it's 100 feet to parking and or building, then, maybe that's something we can discuss.
Well,
No,
let-
no,
let-
hold
let-
on,
let's-
hold on,
let's-
hold on.
Let's go back to Ted's point about some level of consistency. So
Yep.
one side of the street versus the other.
So the other side of the street is 30 feet to the building. The parking, as Glenn said, is not controlled by a specific number away from the Route 1. That's more or less controlled by a specific amount of green space that's required by, in landscaping between the road and parking.
And someone help me out. So
I think it's like 20 feet or something like that. Is that, I forget exactly. We'd have to
right.
look it
So,
up.
but the district that Tractor Supply is in and the other several properties Ted referenced, are they in
That's a different district, yes.
a
Technically, it's-
different district? Okay.
yes,
They adjoin the property, but they're a separate district.
yes.
Just because it's consistently done that way doesn't mean it's necessarily right. And we've got it, whoops, we got it.
No, I'm going to come back with,
Okay.
yep.
And I think, I understand about consistency, but this is really only one of two gateways on Route 1 into Guilford. The other east end is pretty much a done deal. This section here, we've got a chance to kind of maybe, this is my opinion, right some wrongs and maybe do a little bit softer approach to the gateway look coming into town from Branford. I mean, to me personally, as nice as the Tractor store is, I would like it a little bit more of a buffer than what that allows or what that shows. So I don't think because 30 feet's been used consistently, that's, I think, I don't necessarily, again, me personally kind of like that. I like maybe more what 100 feet could
I
potentially.
think Ted was mostly bringing up just as a data point. of
Yep,
comparison.
yep.
And the only reason I wanted to bring up the existing zoning map is to just help for the commission to visualize. There are 3 MUC zones which are being consolidated into the BMU. Starting here over on the eastern side is the MUC 3, which does not have any frontage on Route 1. Got with me on that? Next one is the MUC 2, which is north of 95 on the west side, and there's no portion of that property which is in the MUC 2 zone, which abuts Route 1. The only property in the MUC are now proposed for BMU, which fronts on Route 1, is in fact the MUC 1. So the commission can have some discussion about what frontage standard, or not frontage, excuse me. I see, Kevin, you got me started on using frontage here, but
Sorry.
front,
Yeah, so you got 3 MUC zones, only one of which has frontage on Route 1.
correct. And the only thing I wanted to add in, again, to help the commission, I think, in the decision-making process, these parcels which front on Route 1 are fairly large. The floor area ratio standard isn't
Right.
robust. It's fairly modest. So in effect, whatever development potential is on the property could be slid back from Route 1 a little bit. And I think the 100 feet is perhaps a number the commission might realize. But in terms of its impact on the developability or the square foot, the yield of the property, et cetera, they're large parcels. And so there'd be quite a bit of flexibility within that parcel.
So
Sure,
what
that being-
you're saying is it's not going to impede a developer.
Well,
with
it's
setback.
not entirely,
Using that-
it's not,
the size of
that's
that
not
property.
entirely, sorry,
It's
that's
gonna
not
have an
entirely
impact,
correct.
but it's,
It's
again,
not entirely correct because there, if you go and you look at that site, like it slopes significantly once you start going back there. And it's the further back you go, the more grading and work that you're gonna have to do to that site.
The
Sure.
MUC 1,
Yes.
yeah, right.
But what's wrong with the compromise of 100 and 100, knowing that through the public hearing that they can get closer if they can make their case? We can allow.
What is the 100 and 100? I don't understand.
100 for buildings and 100 for parking.
Well, that means
That
that the
turns out to
parking,
be 200.
that's
No, no, no.
200. That's
No,
200, Kevin.
No.
Come on.
No,
no,
side by
100
side
for
is
each.
talking.
No, 100 for either.
Glenn, do
Well,
you know how,
normally you put the parking in front of the building. I mean, do you want the building to be the first thing people see? I don't understand that.
but Ted, but you end up with the Route 1 look in Branford with those parking lots all in front
Right.
like that.
Right.
I can't buy your argument of protecting that gateway coming in. Glenn, do you know what's the distance along Route 1 for the MUC 1 big parcels there? Do you know what that distance?
Hang on,
terms
I
of-
can probably.
Glenn, I
calculate it.
got GIS open if you want me to do a,
Oh, yeah, if you got it open, Steve, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Is that 2,000 feet? Which is 1,000 feet? What is it?
It's probably 4/10 of a mile, so
It's
that's,
more than that, yeah.
it's like 2,000 feet, I'm guessing. What do you
All
think?
right,
Steve?
2,000. So that's a pretty big range of roadway
Just about, Glenn.
to be looking at parking lots up close to Route 1 at that gateway. I just have to say, I've been in Guilford for 61 years growing up, and as part of the Guilford Land Conservation Trust and so forth, and the whole agricultural field, that there's got to be some protection that stays in place to what the original plan was for Route 1 West, in my opinion.
Where I'm at.
And with Kevin's formulation, if I understand you, Kevin, a developer can decide to put the building within 100 feet and next to it, the parking lot. So not one in front of the other. They could be side by side in your formulation. Is that right?
Right. Or the parking could be within 100 feet, or just the building could be within 100 feet, whatever way they wanted to design it. And then if they wanted to come closer, then it's got to come before us in a special permit, and then we make that decision at the time, depending on the case they make.
I'd like to interject a little bit, and Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong here, but in order for the commission to create a waiver requirement for a setback, they have to establish clear standards. So you can't just say the applicant needs to apply for a special permit and the commission will apply their discretion at that time. You would need to establish some kind of clear standard. Otherwise, you'd be acting outside of your capacity and as the zoning commission. Does that jive right, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm not an attorney.
I'm not an attorney either, but I don't want to go
wanted to.
too far down this road either and
Well,
find
I
out
think
something we
what
can't do.
I think what Kevin's proposing is that it's 100, and that there's a note at the end that states that, included in what you can come for a special permit is you can come for getting closer, is basically what you're proposing, right, Kevin?
Yeah, basically a waiver, like we do it for other things. We do it for stormwater, for impervious surface. And things like that when they go.
I
over
think
the
I got to kind of parse the middle here. I wouldn't call it a waiver, right? Waiver is a 4-letter word. I think we got to be really careful with that.
Okay,
The decision that
It's
Steve
a
and I are,
5-letter word, but that's.
there you go. Actually, it's 6, but we'll compromise on 5.
Oh, that's great.
The decision that the court decision that we're trying to maneuver around is a court decision where a commission granted itself an unrestricted waiver to modify zoning regulations on the fly whenever they felt like it. And the court said, no, you cannot do that. So then there's a follow-up decision that did involve some standards, and the court felt that if there were standards, that's okay. The issue is the 8-2 of the statutes is not particularly well worded. And it said, basically, it's called the uniformity clause in zoning. And the statutes basically says the zoning within a district shall be uniform for all properties, except that the commission can, by special permit, make modifications. So this is the area, Steve, where commission may have some maneuverability around this particular scenario. The criteria that would apply would be the special permit criteria in the regulations themselves. I think realistically here, it would be cleaner if the commission were to say, listen, in this area, the first 100 feet of the property will be a green area. And if there's going to be any request for modification, somebody's going to have to show something more than just they don't want to. And they might have to go to the ZBA. So I think it's possible to do it that way. I would be comfortable with allowing a less of a yard by a separate special permit. I think that could work. But the commission should realize that this is a delicate issue legally.
Yeah.
So be careful.
I agree. And let's go, I don't want to go back to square one, but one of the things that we talked about, it seems like years ago, and it probably was, that one of our goals here was to establish some, if not certainty, as we talk about, possible special permits, but just to allow residents and people possibly considering development some clear guidance as to what is feasible. So that has always been my guidepost to thinking about these regulations, is just, let's make it clear. Let's make it, as unambiguous as we can, with the prospect in some cases of special permits being in the offing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
no, it makes total sense. I'm just, and I think for all the other areas that we're talking about doing that, that's fine. I just think this is a very unique situation that requires maybe a unique set of verbiage.
I just don't think we can spend and ad nauseum on this. I think the 100 feet is a good compromise. It is far beyond what is nearby for the other commercial neighbors. I think it makes sense. That's my opinion.
100 feet is a green area, as Glenn suggests. Is that what you're saying, John?
No, I don't think he is.
Were you saying 100 feet for a green area, Sean? Setback?
Glenn just said it. I think that makes sense.
Okay,
Want to argue about 50 feet or 75 feet?
Okay. Ted, any follow-up?
Well, I think the idea of, in effect, us legislating the parking lot is gonna come back and bite us. But I think that's a mistake.
How
Right.
so? How
Right.
so?
why so over a building?
I think it's really important to, part of the commission charge is not only to set things up to allow for commercial development for broader tax base, and let's, put it out there, that's what commercial development is for, and we want commercial development to be low impact, non-polluting. We need to broaden the tax base, so that it doesn't fall on the homeowners as taxes continue to go up. I understand that. But the commission's charge in rewriting these regulations, since there's such an extensive rewrite, is also to protect Guilford's agricultural assets and the beauty of the town and so forth. That's my argument back to you, Ted. It's just, you can't just take a 30-foot setback as others have it and use that as your tool without protecting that Route 1 West corridor. So that's the last I'll say on that, but I'm adamant about that.
I have a question
Alright.
for you, Scott.
Yes.
I have to plead ignorant on this. So when we had the Cherry Street application across from the police station, sort of.
Yep.
They asked for a waiver on the stormwater on the 40%, remember?
They did.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So we ended up granting them a waiver to go more than 40%.
Yep.
So why in this particular case, when you're talking about setbacks, why couldn't they ask for a waiver to get closer and then
So-
have that be up for our discussion and discretion? What's the difference?
Mostly that whole waiver process was part of the regulations. It was in there. And that's also part of some of the things that Glenn's been helping us to clean up a little bit.
And
With that.
it's not
And
a
the waiver,
direct,
and the waiver was based on the fact that they were implementing a storm water
It was
management
based specifically
system,
to the stormwater.
Okay,
So
right, but it was
it's-
still granted.
which is something that you can't do with a setback. I mean,
Well,
there's no synthetic way to deal with the setback issue.
I understand your question, Kevin, of like, if we have a waiver for a stormwater system, why can't we have a waiver related to how close a parking lot is?
I don't think I realized it was that finely nuanced.
I don't think Glenn was specifically saying you couldn't have a setback waiver.
I know, he's just cautioning us to stay away from waivers in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds like it.
That's more what I meant.
I mean, I think if Steve asked me the question about, can it be done and the specific language? And I think I'm comfortable with this language when it says allowed by separate special permit.
Right.
That means that an applicant might come in with two applications. One would be the site plan or the special permit for the use. But the second special permit would be a modification to the front yard setback.
Right.
I
I
think
agree
that's-
with that. I agree with that because I think the implication with the waiver is that like, well, how much do we need to talk about it? What do we really need to think about?
Okay.
That could just come down to opinion. Whereas if you're applying to it for a special permit to do something, then, that has a whole bunch of implications that we have to think, it forces us to think through the situation and make sure
Right.
we're making the choice that's best for Guilford. So, yeah, I think that's the difference there. I mean, I would be fine with that stipulation on there. That's fine with me.
If
I
I think
agree.
if I understand where I think the commission may be going, I realize there's opinions on both sides. So I'm just trying to think what I need to write. It would seem to me that what the commission's guidance would be here is this becomes Route 1, building and parking, 100 feet. See footnote number 4.
Yep.
Footnote number 4 would say a lesser setback may be allowed by separate special permit when it is determined by the commission that, and have that language in. Is that, is that what the commission is?
That,
Okay.
that sounds reasonable to me.
So do we want to put a hard and fast number on it though? And say that you can't,
No,
you can ask for a
no.
special permit up to a certain number, or are we just gonna leave it? That's fine.
What about the verbiage on green space or whatever that?
Yeah, that's what he just said, was the
Did he say
100
green?
for,
I didn't hear the green. Okay.
he didn't say green, but he said
Oh, okay.
100 for the, for both building and parking. Okay,
Sorry about that. I was trying to type on the PDF document, which you can't do. Sorry about that.
okay.
So
Was there
Jason,
anything
so-
else?
Just one last thing. I'm sorry. So
Sure.
Jason, were you thinking, I know you were thinking 100 and 100 as well for both. Are you thinking leave it at 100 without that? Note, C note 4, or you're okay with C note 4?
Give me C note 4 again.
C note 4 would be very similar to notes 2 and 3. So what it would say is
Right.
the setback for building and parking is 100 feet. That's what it would say up here. And then it would say C note 4. And note 4 would read something like a lesser setback may be allowed by separate special permit when it is determined by the commission that such a lesser setback will not adversely affect adjoining property and when the architecture of the proposed building supports and enhances the purposes of the district.
Yep.
We can add in something there about, the excellence in landscaping. So yeah, maybe they could go down to 50 feet for good reason, but maybe the commission might require them to landscape the living daylights. So again, it's a special permit and could be a horse trade.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. You just hope that your commission is, at the time when this is, occurs in the future, is conscientious of protecting that corridor.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine without that C note 4, just 100 and 100, but I think that I'm not sure we would collectively agree to.
Right, I prefer the 100 also, but it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like it would go that direction.
Okay. Was there any other items that folk, in your review of these last updates, anything else pop out to you that we need to discuss? Glenn, did you have anything else that you needed us to discuss?
I did not. I took careful notes through the process. I tried to capture all the comments from the commission. I believe I've captured them honestly and completely here. I appreciate your guidance here tonight on BMU. So my suggestion, Scott, I think would be to, I guess I have two choices. One of which is to produce a modifications page, which summarizes our conversation here tonight, just to summarize for the commission. Larry brought up the comment page 102, where we had 2 missing click links. The other comment in the IHD zone was to delete 37B1D. And then we have the change here on page 107 or page 4-19 in terms of the setbacks in the BMU. I could issue a new set of regulations with tomorrow's date on it, or just have a 1-page, it's not an errata sheet, but it's a proposed modification sheet. And again, I think it's.
Why don't you do the 1 page? I mean,
Yeah, Glenn,
we're just making the printer
the shorter the
companies.
better. I agree with Ted.
Yeah, okay. So I'll work with Janique and Nigel to get this posted on the town website. So again, it's
Great.
clear for people
Great.
that this will happen, and maybe even on the PDF. I might put something on these pages, just a note which says, see supplemental page or whatever.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to be transparent here for people who come in.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So are we almost done, Scott?
Yeah, we have some new applications that we need to receive, but that's about it. And we have
Okay.
2 minutes that we need to approve.
Okay, all right.
So I think if the
I just
commission
want
is
to make,
comfortable,
I just want to make some comments before we close out,
Like in general.
like in general.
Glenn was just gonna say something.
Okay. Glenn, do you have any closing comment? Or is
no,
that-
I think, thank you for your guidance here tonight. I'll go ahead and make, I think, as was pointed out, the amendment sheet, we'll call it. I will amend the PDF to include notes on those pages for people to see the amendment sheet. So now the picture should be very clear for people what the situation and intention of the commission is. I would suggest, if the commission is okay with this, that we park the regulations, don't talk about it at the intervening meeting before our meeting now on September 20th. And then we'll bring the regs and the map back together for discussion by the commission at that time.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks,
My
Glenn.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
All right, we'll continue with the regular meeting. We have some new applications. Sheila McCarron and Patricia Brennan, 144 Birch Grove, map 13, lot 22, zone RS-1. Coastal site plan application to raise the height of the existing single-family home and modify existing decks to comply with FEMA regulations. Receive an application and set public hearing for September 6th, 2023. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Move, second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Let's see, Blaze Pickle LLC, 90 Boston Post Road, map 49, lot 22B, zone SC, site plan application to re-tenant the existing commercial building and establish a temporary pickleball business. Receive application. So do we have a motion to receive that?
So move.
Thank you, Frank.
Second,
Second from Larry, I think I heard. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
All right. We have a received application of Target Corporation 900 Boston Post Road, map 47, lot 22B, zone SC, site plan application to re-tenant the existing commercial building with a retail use and make associated traffic and pedestrian site improvements. Do I have a motion to receive that application?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ted. And I heard Frank for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries. And lastly, Lauriero Engineering Associates, Inc., 405 Whitfield Street, map 28, lot 5, zone I1, modification of the existing special permit and coastal site plan applications to modify the location of the public viewing area. Receive application and set a public hearing for September 6th, 2023. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Frank.
Second.
For the second,
He
all in
moves, he
favor?
moves, he moves fast. He moves fast.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We have 2 minutes. The first is the approval of minutes from the July 19th meeting. Was anyone
I'm
able to
sorry,
review those minutes?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Did you get the updated agenda? There's one more application. That's the State Street Developers.
I must not have gotten the updated
Ah.
one.
I saw that either.
Could you post?
That
Yeah.
was
could you-
this morning, the email I sent this morning.
Yeah,
posted it before.
I saw it.
Yeah,
Hold, please. I thought I had the one from this morning. 1 second.
there you go. State Street Developers.
State Street Developers LLC, State Street, map 54, lot 5, zone MUOS, modification of existing special permit to change the grading of the looped portion of the roadway, allowing for basements. Receive application and set a public hearing for September 6th, 2023. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Sean. Second from Larry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Jenny.
There's only 1 minute. The August 2nd would follow. It's only July
Alright.
19th. Yeah.
So the July 19th meeting, was anyone able to review those minutes?
Yes, I moved, we approved them.
All right, do I
Second.
have a second. Thank
Second.
you, Kevin. Larry Rizzolo.
Abstain,
All right, Jason Marchi,
Yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Ted Sands,
Yes,
Sean Cosgrove,
Yes.
Frank DeAndrea,
Have to abstain on that one. I wasn't there.
And I'll vote yes. All right. That's all we have on the agenda for this evening. Sean, I guess go ahead. I'm
I
trying to stay away from these things.
No, I just wanted to, we have a new town planner.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not, can someone remind me what her start date is?
September 5th.
And so, Steve, I think we all owe you a debt of thanks for your service. And I just wanted to just send some compliments for, you know, standing in as you have has really been very helpful for us. So thank you very much.
They're here.
Here, here.
Thank you for the kind words. Pleasure working with you all and learning from you.
And
Steve,
I
you're
hope
still
that-
hanging out for a little while though, right?
Another week.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, you know,
my
this meant in the kindest way. I hope we never see you again. And I also just want to call out Jernique. I think that she's, you know, I could not be here for the last meeting due to illness, but her minutes were extremely helpful to someone who was absent. So thank you, Jernique.
Her minutes were helpful to someone who was there.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Second was I think, Jason. There you go. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Hi,
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
everyone.
good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.